Hello, everybody. Welcome to 3 Point Perspective, the podcast about illustration, how to do it, how to make a living at it, and how to make an impact in the world with your art. I'm Jay Parker.
I'm Lee White.
And I'm Samantha Cotterill, and let's jump into it.
All right. Sam, tell us a little bit about what you did this week, because it sounded kind of cool.
You know, I've had a pretty good week. Not going to lie. It's been a pretty good week.
Okay.
I did a couple things that kind of reflect what we've talked about in podcasts prior, and that idea of getting out of the house, getting out of your comfort zone, and just doing different things.
I love that it's an episode of the podcast. Something to talk about is Sam gets out of the house.
This is big, you know, and if we do a live event where we can actually physically see that I get out of the house, it's going to generate massive ratings if she actually did do it. But I thought about it because I just wanted to extend this idea to anybody out there that's looking for that kind of wake up community vibe when you're working in your studio by yourself, and it can be hard to get yourself out the door if you're me. But our local
wait, pause really quick. If you're listening on YouTube, just comment really quick. When was the last time you left the house? I just want to know where all our listeners are at.
Do you guys ever go like it'll be like we're recording right now on a Thursday.
Yeah.
From Monday to Thursday, sometimes, some weeks, just depending on the weather and my workload and all that stuff, I have not actually left the house.
Don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I walk the dog.
That's my move as well.
That's my leaving the house. But tomorrow I have a lunch date with someone, like going out for tacos with a friend. So,
wow. I have
how crazy is that?
A treadmill inside the house.
So you don't even have to.
So I do run outside in Italy and Greece. And I mean, it's in my little office on a treadmill, but I am a very big world traveler.
Simulate.
Then our British bulldog refuses to walk. Like, you cannot, we've even carried her blocks down the street and had her favorite dogs with her, and she will just bolt back to the house. So she will only run.
So she doesn't actually get exercise?
In the backyard. She just chases after a ball over and over.
See, our dogs won't go in the backyard.
But that allows me to just really hibernate and never leave my driveway. But anyway, so I digress. But
yes.
There is a coffee shop, shout out to Arthur's in Schenectady, the best coffee shop ever. And she started doing these meetups, and someone had approached her about, would you ever be open to reserving a table once a month for like a knitting club meetup or a reading meetup? And so someone had approached her about a creatives meetup. And it finally started this past Monday. And it was amazing. And not every time you do one of these is going to be good. Sometimes you'll have ones that you go, maybe this isn't for me. Mm-hmm. But this one just really worked well. And I think it was even more so because it wasn't an illustrators meetup, which is good to have as well. Right. This was purely a creatives meetup. And we had a filmmaker, a photographer, a owner of a printing company, an editor of a magazine, someone that does knitting, and then another person is a photographer for product photography, but it was all different mediums. And so it was really fascinating to kind of see where the common thread was with all of us in terms of working on our own, trying to get our names out there, all of that.
How many people ask you to do a logo?
I had one person that wanted to kind of potentially do something together. And it was actually really cool because he does photography for products for restaurants. And he thought, oh, you know what? I'm doing some, like, let's say gin and like bottled photography with having some cool paper flowers around it. Or there's a restaurant that does need a sign that could be. And these are really pretty impressive, like, what some of the positions that these people had was really interesting. And it was just, I didn't expect to leave so pumped up and excited just to even get my own work going and going back to draw. It didn't need to be other illustrators. It just needed to be other people that were also in a creative field, working from home, and just needed to come together and talk shop. And that
was going to be my question is, did you guys do some kind of, was there any kind of barrier to entry? Because I was going to ask, was there some beginners at what they're doing, and then along with you being a pro and some other people obviously being high level?
Oh yeah, it was all different levels of people, and it was neat. I mean, you had people that were nervous, and it was a really scary moment for me because I don't like approaching people I don't know yet, or I'm not good at that stuff. But I had to keep reminding myself, like, what would you tell your kid? You would say. So I'm like, I better walk the walk here. And you remember that everybody's feeling that same way. And we all just kind of had an introduction, had coffee, and then have a plan for once a month. And it's a doable thing of being once a month to meet up. And I just thought this could be something that you could even approach your own library, your own coffee shop in your neighborhood. There's got to be businesses that would love to do something like this because it brings people in. People are buying coffee, they're doing whatever they're doing for the business you're in, but it just creates a community vibe. And it was a really great experience. So that was experience number one.
Hold on. How did you hear about it?
I heard about it because I go there all the time. So the
Okay.
owner knew that I was an artist. She knows what, and so she approached me and said, someone has been wanting to do this because they were putting it on their social media, and she knew that I wasn't on social media. So she just said, I just wanted to let you know this is happening.
Pretty cool of her.
Yeah, and then they have a bulletin board, so they're going to put it up on the bulletin board. And now we've got an email like thread just so that we can let each other know, kind of be part of showing up for that Monday. And then one guy was like, what if we bring some speakers sometimes? What if we bring somebody to come and talk about different aspects that could apply to all of us? And it was a really fun experience. And I just thought it's something that anybody could kind of work towards in their own communities. It doesn't have to be anything big. And it's amazing how many creatives there are that you don't realize are so close to you. 3 of them lived 2 streets away from me, and I had no idea they existed.
Yeah, meet them in New York City, and then
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah. So that was an amazing experience. Number 2, I went to a free concert that was held through the local community arts center. Little did I know that the Troy Music Hall, which is this beautiful old music hall, gorgeous once a month they do a free concert. And it was a pianist that was doing combined technology with his piano. And it was this really interesting experience. And I went in there, I brought my sketchbook, sat down, and had the most incredible experience just really observing and watching him play piano.
But you're always terrified to draw in public, aren't you?
The lights went down, it got dark, and I sat in where no one else was. And so,
they can't see it. Nobody's behind you.
Yeah.
Can we see the sketches? Do you have them?
No, I don't, but I will get them to you.
Mm-hmm.
In the other
I'm going
room.
to work on those tonight. How did it go drawing them? Were you happy with the work, or did the work not matter? It was more about the sort of the vibe and the experience.
The work didn't matter so much. In the beginning, it was really rough because I was nervous and I was uncomfortable and I was feeling it. Like it's not something that I'm used to doing, but it's very akin to Freaky Friday events that we do at SVS every Friday, where we're just live drawing very quickly. And the first bit, it's rusty. It's like running anything where that first mile kind of sucks. And then you get into this groove. And I noticed that I was just observing and learning to see. And what I was fixated on, wow, this particular pianist, his body sat in the exact same position, but then his head was really moving a lot. And it was almost like a Jim Dine drawing where you could draw and you could see the movement of the limbs from before. And so then it started to morph into this almost mid-century kind of illustration where I had overlapping. He had glasses. So you were just seeing the glasses, and it just opened up kind of like that drummer picture I had done a while back. It just started to open up new little ding, ding, ding. And you had brought something up the other day about music when you were talking about fireworks. I was drawing the music, and I'd never done that before because I was like, wow, these sounds that he's creating are so specific. It was like bing, 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 and then these roar. And I thought, how would I draw that? How would I draw the sounds that I'm hearing because they're so unique.
How did you draw them? Did you spell them out? Did you write bing, bing, bing?
I just closed my eyes and just thought, I'm just going to like react. And so that was kind of cool. It was really cool to see what would happen. And then,
Sounds like a cool vibe. Did you snap at the end where you do the jazz snapping?
but I am going to tell you, it was really cool because it planted a seed. And so what I did from noticing that is I had a piece of paper in my pocket and I had my pencil in my hand and I had stuck my hand in my pocket and I thought, oh, with movement, what would happen to my piece of paper walking to the car, and then what would happen when I'm running from the car to the house? You should try it. You put a sheet of paper in your pocket, hold a pencil, and just start walking. And you see this rhythm, and then you start hopping, and you see this rhythm. You should try it. But it just kind of, it opened up experimentation, and it's so important.
How to say you were an art school kid without saying you're an art school kid.
Oh, that's good. I would not have thought of the pocket drawing. I'd never have
That's
thought
like,
of that, but it's interesting.
you know, you see those artists who like tie paintbrushes to tree limbs and put a canvas next to it. The wind just kind of
That's nice.
whatever patterns.
It's all that, isn't that like chance art kind of idea where my mom, and I've always appreciated my mom about that. She's such a great artist. And even with her home renovations, when they tiled the floor in the kitchen, it was all white tile. And then she just took some pennies and threw them. And wherever the pennies landed, that's where she put a black tile.
Wow, that's cool. I
And
like that.
It's amazing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right, my
I'm
lecture.
curious to see where that ends up, because I do think that kind of play is can be amazing for your practice. I think you have to be comfortable in your professional practice to be able to actually use that, because I could just picture myself as a new artist trying to think this way and then being too nervous to really let it simmer on what the takeaway. You might not know what the takeaway is just yet, right?
Yeah, I have no idea what the takeaway is. And I know that it doesn't mean that every experience has to lead to a finished drawing. It doesn't
That's
mean
key. That's the key takeaway right there. Process, not finished. Finished, not perfect.
finished, not perfect. And it's
Just came up with that.
Yeah, I like that. That sounds awesome. That's good.
How about you two?
See, I've been head down working on stuff too much to really feel
You went to the
comfortable.
zoo, didn't you?
That was at Christmas time. And I found out this week that you can't have zoo in the title of the book that you're proposing.
That's good.
Because who knew zoos are too hot to touch, I guess.
This was an interesting thread. So Jake had written a sample, kind of a hint of a story that involved a zoo, and then Sam and I were like, "No, zoos are over. You can't talk about zoos." I'd be curious to what the audience thinks. You guys comment on whether zoos are okay. I mean, I feel like when I'm at a zoo, this is what I told Sam and Jake, that I feel a sense of absolute wonder and delight, and then at the same exact proportion, horror, and I feel guilty for being there and seeing the animals locked up.
Supporting it.
It's a weird.
So, but here's a question. Like going with children's books, what if there isn't a zoo in the book, but the zoo is termed more, is used more as like a descriptor, like this place is a zoo because it's so crazy. Like in the book, I don't want to give it away because I'm still working on the proposal and I don't want any of y'all stealing the idea and getting out ahead of me before it. But in the book, a bunch of animals are rounded up to do a job and they're sort of not rounded up. They volunteer themselves.
I was going to say, I'm like, you're not leading it too well. You're digging a hole there, Jake. You're
Not
digging
A bunch
going
of
in the right-
animals volunteered to do a job. And now this person has all these animals. And so he makes a little space for them to stay with him.
Locked up.
They're not locked up. They can go anytime they want. But it's called, Mr. Humphrey's Zoo or something like that. I'm not telling you the actual name of it.
What about sanctuary?
Is the word zoo toxic, or is more the concept of zoo toxic?
I think it's too. I mean, with the movie like Blackfish that came out a while back of captive orcas and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I think it's just sort of tainted that thing. I wonder if there's another word that fits that better, like Mr. Wilson's Crazy Rodeo
Mm,
or some. I don't know if you
I
know
don't know.
rodeo. Can you
I
say
don't know if
rodeo?
rodeos are any better.
No, I said that. I thought that right when I said it. But is there some other term? Wacky animal craziness. Do you have to
Yeah.
label it?
I'm going to keep workshopping it, but I'll say this. Um, you know that movie Madagascar, that whole series? Um, now that I think about it, it's like all about the animals escaping the zoo because did they hate it there? I can't remember. How long ago have I haven't
I
seen,
can't
I
remember,
haven't
but
seen
But
that.
there's a couple of Madagascars, isn't there? So like, isn't there? Do they come back to the zoo? Don't they come back?
You know what? This is why I do children's books. I don't do I don't do animated films.
Well, I'm
I
gonna
always
look
go
up
to the creature
Madagascar now
comforts. I always
because
go to the
but
Aardman.
I think they do hate it there.
Okay. I always go to that Aardman Creature Comforts one.
Mhm.
That was where they interview all the different animals. And
Yeah.
there was like, I just want to be free. And then, but then you've got the turtles that are in like the British voice that I felt like myself. It's like, oh, it's quite nice, really. And I'm like,
That reminds me. So the first time I ever saw Creature Comforts, this is I'm really speaking to my age now. Not only am I not familiar with the Madagascars, even though I guarantee those films have been played in my house 100 times. I just can't sit through them. I can't even sit through the movies I worked on at Blue Sky. But
There's a Jake Parker endorsement right there.
right. I like to move it. Anyway, I was telling my kid about this the other day, but there used to be this animation film festival called Spike
Spike and Ike.
Spike and Ike's Animated Film Festival.
Yeah.
And it would tour around the country.
Mhm.
And that was the only way you could see animated shorts because they weren't playing in the front of movies at movie theaters, and no video rental store had like animated short collections that you could rent and watch them. And so if you wanted to see an animated short, you had to go to this film festival. And I remember being in junior high and seeing it in the newspaper. That's how you found out what stuff was happening around town, was from the newspaper, and being like, mom, you got to take me to this. You got to take me to this. And she's like, oh, okay. When is it? Where is it? And it was like on a Saturday. And I went in there, and I was underage. So there was an aspect to this film festival that was for 21 and up, right? Or 18 up. I can't remember. But, and so they did sort of the all ages section, and then they said, okay, everybody who's young, underage, time to get out. And then they would do the upper age. So I remember seeing for the first time Creature Comforts, seeing Wallace and Gromit, seeing, there was like a handful of like Bambi versus Godzilla, which was a classic from like the early 80s that was still playing at the festivals. Have you ever heard of that one?
No, I've got to look that one up. No.
Yeah, it's and just all these different anime, and it just blew my mind of what was actually possible with, because the only stop motion I had seen up to that point was Gumby, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. But here's Wallace and Gromit. They're like, actually, like it was almost like Pixar level. What Pixar was bringing to animated films for kids, Wallace and Gromit was bringing to that as well. It was like a little bit higher brow. The humor was a little bit more sophisticated, and it was just amazing. And so that was and it was in a cool part of town. It was in ASU, like just off the campus of ASU. It was on Mill Avenue, and in this cool little old like movie theater. And there was a bunch of college kids, and here I was, this junior high kid, like, just hanging out and like trying to talk to other animation people and stuff like that. And it just took me back. That stuff, if it's happening now, I don't know about it. I haven't.
I just looked it up. It is happening now.
It
They're
is. We just
Really?
had
They're
it.
redoing it. Yeah.
Yeah, it comes to our town. I mean, I did it all through college, and we still have here. It comes every
I'm gonna
year.
have to go.
It's cool. You definitely should. And for those out there, if you can, you should go. It's really fun.
Yeah. I think that same theater is where I saw Ghost in the Shell for the first time too. I remember.
I don't know what that is.
What?
Have you?
Oh my goodness.
Well,
Well, look, I don't know what Middle Earth is, so
You got some homework. Let's just put it that way.
we're like, you don't know what Ghost in the Shell is. Meanwhile, we can't even like tell you the plot of Madagascar.
We know that there's a zoo in it, and they
There's
leave the zoo.
there's a
But we
zoo
don't
or
know the
something.
motivations.
No, Ghost in the Shell was like a breakthrough anime from the 90s that was like, it was just one of those films that there was like before Ghost in the Shell and after Ghost in the Shell. It was like you had Akira as like the standard of here's what anime can accomplish, and then Ghost in the Shell came out like 10 years later, and it's like this is the bar we can reach now. Anyway.
all right. I was just, calling your bluff. I totally knew that, and I just thought maybe he's just flexing. So,
Just seeing what you know about it.
and I was gonna say, yeah, I know that too.
But
Let's
I
help
remember
him
going
out
to see.
and asking what Jake's week was like, and he didn't actually go to the zoo this week. What did you do this week?
This week, I reminisced about the times I had left the house in the past. No. Anyways, I've just been working. I did wrap up that job for Brandon Sanderson. And so I turned in all those files and I invoiced them and Dragonsteel, and now that is off my plate.
Awesome.
So I'm
You done for a
excited.
little while?
What's that?
You're done for a little while?
I am, yeah. Well, there's a few outstanding little things, odds and ends that need to be done. Like I do need to design a like what's the
Spine?
binding, the spine design, and a couple of like the chapter break, just how that's going to look graphically. They're working on it on their end, what they want, and if there's something I need to do, I'll do that for them. But yeah. I don't know. I don't think I talked about it on the podcast yet, but it was announced at Dragonsteel Nexus, which is Brandon's, what's it called? Convention, sci-fi or fantasy sci-fi convention he does every year. But they do these nice leather-bound editions of the books and of the books that he publishes, and I got to illustrate the leather-bound edition of Skyward, which is his sci-fi book, which is super cool. Do you know how many books he sells every year, self-published?
Oh,
Like meaning different books, or like one book and then total sales of that one?
Total sales of books that his little side company, so it's a massive company now. His company that he started to sell his self-published books, how many units do they sell in a year?
Because it's him, I'm gonna guess higher than I normally would. I'm gonna say 1 million.
100,000.
Oh, okay. I went too high.
But
Shot too high.
I know you shot way too high. But listen,
10 billion.
each book sells for $100.
Oh, wow.
okay, that's impressive.
Right.
I knew 1 million was one of the numbers I knew.
Yeah. So just in self-publishing books, that company's bringing in $10 million. And I'm sure if there's a couple of the people who work there who happen to be listening, they could set me right. But this is just what I pulled from interviews online and, articles that I've read and stuff like that.
Wow.
So anyway,
So-
I just think it's cool that you got an author who he's able to essentially understand the publishing industry on one hand, and on the other hand, understand like the fandom so well that he essentially could say, I'm going to create something that is irresistible to not only the publishers, but also the fans. And I'm going to bridge the gap of where the fans want stuff that the publisher can't really provide, because publishers can't figure out how to sell $100 book, really.
Yeah.
The numbers for them doesn't make sense, at least for most people. And so So I don't know. I just think it's kind of cool, and they love working with their artists, and it was such a fun job to work on.
Is
And
there
they're
any
such a
graphics
cool
you did
team.
for the? You said it's leather bound.
Yeah.
Is there any graphics that go on to the leather?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Wow.
So I designed kind of a foil indentating. What's it called?
Embossed?
An embossed kind of foil design that goes. So it's going to be like black leather with a gold design
Ooh.
in
Oh
there.
my goodness.
Oh, that's cool. And it's amazing how I think what a great idea that he had with really connecting to the fans, because that is a huge source of people that really are excited about your work, that want to invest in. I mean, I even think of like the board game community or the role playing tabletop game community. And I look at my sons with MTG and Pokemon and these communities. There's a lot of people that really love what they're into in that moment. And like,
Yeah.
it's a really great, because they're passionate about it. They really want to purchase and they want to.
Well, there's a thing called a sander shelf that people share online, and it's all of the books that they bought, and they put them on this shelf, and it's sort of like their little shrine to fantasy, to the fantasy author that they love. And there's other fantasy authors that people collect books, but it's just it's a testament to a person who really understands the fans that they have and put in like the years of work to build that fan base from the ground up, and to keep that dialogue open. Now, I want to tell you really quick how I got this job was because everybody's, the question we always get asked, like, how do you get work? How do you get work? Number one, maintain your relationships with friends in the industry, because word of mouth got to them that I would be a good guy to work with through a friend.
Oh
Okay?
wow, just through the grapevine.
Wow, that's
Through the
great.
grapevine.
Oh, that is
So that's that. But that doesn't mean you're going to get a job. That just means you're on their radar now. Once I found that out, I emailed them, the two art directors, and I think they have 4 or 5 art directors there, but the two higher up guys. And I said, hey, you guys are cool. Let me introduce myself. What's your address? I want to mail you something. I mailed them a copy, both of them, a package for each of them of robots and spaceships. And I threw in some stickers and I mailed that to them. And I was like, I just thought you guys would love this kind of thing. This is the kind of stuff I do. Once they got those packages and flipped through them, it was essentially like the best business card I could ever send to someone.
That's what I always think about the self-published books. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great. Wow, that's amazing.
So it goes back to, I'm just such a huge proponent for maintaining your friendships and your relationships. Even like there's people you have that are your friends, like your ride or dies that you're texting, multiple times a week or once a week or something like that. Definitely have those. And you really can only handle, I think most people can, you're under 20 people in that, if you're really gregarious, if you're in that sort of space. But I think there's room in your life for 100 people that you can just keep in touch with once or twice a year as just a, hey man, thinking about you, how's it going? And I mean it genuinely, not as a, if nothing ever came from it, a job or anything ever came from it, it wouldn't affect the relationship. But what often happens is when it's these sort of friend of a friend, or I just kind of know this guy type of friendship, where they don't judge, they don't know the ins and outs of your life. They just know you as like this cool person, and they'll throw a bone to you. They'll throw a job to you or something. And because you're not a bestie friend, you're not all up in their business, and they're not all up in your business. So if the job goes sour, it's nothing lost. It just didn't work out. Whereas if it's your best friend, it's like now there's like weird bad blood or something there, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just a kind of a proponent for those kinds of relationships. And some friendships are you kind of lose touch with people and they're not in your life, and sometimes they are in your life a little bit more. There's just this fluctuation with friendships. So there's that. And then the second thing is just make a thing. Try to make one thing every year or every couple of years, a good solid project that you own and you have ownership of, and it comes from only a place that you could create it. And have that be your calling card. And you can go a long way with those two things.
Yeah. And I think it's a great idea of reconnecting and just every once in a while, because then it just brings you back into their mind for any time of project. And if you were an incredible experience to work with in terms of working with you, you were really accountable, you were really great with that sticks, and they remember that. And so if the project, and who knows how long down the road another project might come up, but if you are remembered as, well, Jake is always he's so good at just being up to date with communication, letting us know, he's a really great person to work with, a great client to work with. And so that kind of is a great thing to have in terms of then you're kind of in this library of resources that they want to pull from when a
Do you
project.
think if you didn't send the book that you wouldn't have got the gig?
I think it moved it along a little bit faster than it would have. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I was on a short list. I knew they were going to do that project. And I don't know if that project was going to be this year or if they were just going to do it a few years down the line. But, it made it clear I was the guy for it, I think. Hopefully they still feel that way after. I mean, they keep saying this is good stuff, but you want to be a fly on the wall and hear man, I wish you would have done the faces better. I guess I'll find out if they want me to do the second book.
That's the indicator right there.
Yep.
If you get invited back to the table.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep.
That's exciting.
Anywho, what about you, Lee?
Speaking of friends that you connect with and that you have known for a long time, we did a pro demo this week that was super fun. It's been a little while building this little lecture, and we talked about Katya Chen, who's been on our podcast here. Talked about her book Fireworks, which has won all the things. We talked about that on another podcast. We decided to do a deep dive, sort of a book breakdown of.
I think there's one or two people who don't know what a pro demo is.
A pro demo is a monthly sort of activity that we do at SVS. That's for our highest tier group, where we get together and do something live. We're not necessarily painting live, but we're describing a process live, and students are there and they're asking questions. And it's just a really great sort of community.
Example, this month, Lee did the breakdown of fireworks. When it was my turn, in November, I showed everybody the tactics for email your email list strategy, and specifically how to use Substack to build a fan base and build a community with your fans. And what was Sam, you did something.
Mine was all how to work with editors and art editors.
That's right.
What my experience has been in terms of how that communication happens.
And Sam beat me on overall number of people, which makes me mad. A lot of people came with that one. They were interested.
Flex.
But it was fun to do the book breakdown. It's the first time we've really done that as a pro demo. Normally I always take that sort of task as I need to show something that I'm doing, and painting or drawing or some other little tip or something. But this was a little bit different for us. So it was fun to step out of my comfort zone and try something new and see how it would work. So I invited Sam and Jake to join me as kind of co-hosts, so to speak, and we went through it. Right in the beginning, interesting little thing, if I can actually pull it up. I can't find my mouse right now. That's what my day is going like. I don't mean the actual physical mouse. I mean, like, where is it on my screen?
Oh, okay. Like usually the mouse is right by the keyboard.
No, do you ever get that? I've got 3 screens and I'm moving the mouse and I don't know where something's
Yeah,
happening.
yeah, it happens to me all the time.
But we talked a little bit about in the beginning of Kat's book. I wanted to go over the different kinds of books that I noticed on my bookshelf, like just as a whole. And so I'm curious if Sam and Jake want to add anything to this grouping. But I'm just going to go over them here if you want to hear the. I think it's 8 different. There it is. 8 different kinds of stories. Now there's a million versions of each one of these stories, but generally the 8 different kinds of stories you might see. And you guys feel free to add to this list. But first one is observational. And so that the idea there is that you're experiencing a small moment or a big moment in your day, but it's a condensed amount of time. You're not telling a story over days or weeks or anything like that. It's just something that you happen to observe. So it's all about mood and attention, very, very subtle arc maybe of your story. And an example of that one is Fireworks, which is the one we were reviewing. So it's an observational type book. And that concept really is just basically a day of, I guess it's 4th of July, and the day is just building up to the fireworks. The reason this is such an important thing for me to notice this kind of book is I've written a lot of different stories, but I've never written this kind of story because I didn't know this kind of story was viable. Have you guys ever written an observational kind of story?
Well, the Look by Gabby Snyder that I illustrated, that was a very observational story. And it's literally just the child and the mother going for a walk and eventually coming back home. And it takes over a short period of time. And it's just observational, really, of what they're seeing. So
that's cool.
One of my favorite children's books ever. It was actually Caldecott Honor like 8 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe. It's called They All Saw a Cat by Brendan Wenzel. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
And that it's a cat walking through the neighborhood, but it's from the point of view of all the different animals. So what does a cat look like from a dog? You know, it's kind of scared and it's running away. What does a cat look like from a mouse? Like a monster. What does a cat look like from a goldfish? You know? And I just thought it was just a phenomenal book. And I was like, it's so simple, it's so well executed.
Yeah.
It actually blew my mind to start noticing these kind of books because they are so simple. I think I do want to list sort of the pros and the cons of these kind of books. The biggest pro I see with this one, which is is a great example of that, is that it gives you time because not a ton of stuff. You're not trying to drive this really complicated story. It gives you a massive amount of time to play with the illustration. So pretty neat. I'm definitely intrigued by that kind of story. The next one is a classic one that most people, I think, start with when they're new writers, and I tend to go this way too. Problem and solution, right? So that's fixing what's wrong with something. So conflicts, attempts, multiple attempts, and then you finally get to a resolution. An example of that would be the most famous book by John Klassen, I Want My Hat Back, right? He's got a problem. He's missing the hat. Got to find the hat. But you need to have some kind of twist so it's not an obvious solution or something to make interest.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that they're all lesson or moral. It just means there's, like you said, there's some kind of conflict. Whether something's
not right, and you got to figure out what to do. The next one, which goes, it's interesting to parse these things because in my mind originally, before I made this document, I kind of lumped some of these things together, and they're really not the same thing. The next one is goal-driven, or trying to attain a goal, so getting something desired. An example of that is just like extra yarn. I think the most famous version of that is Pigeon Who Wants to Drive the Bus.
Okay.
Right? It's a goal. Yeah. There's no problem. It's not like he needs to drive the bus to go save somebody or something like that. It's he wants to drive the bus. That's his goal. We never learn why that's his goal, where he wants to go. I'm glad they didn't explain all that. It really is it's really about a kid probably just wanting something so bad and they can't have it. And it's just that funny kind of dialogue. But it's super interesting. But in my mind, before I made this document, I would have grouped goal-driven stories with problem solving. I kind of saw them as the same thing, but they're not. Okay, the next one, this is the one I lean into the most, that I probably shouldn't, and that is the journey adventure story. So moving a character through environments or through space in some way, and they're on this journey, and there's hopefully some kind of discovery, some kind of escalation that happens during that. Because again, you can combine a problem with the journey, so all these things aren't in total isolation of each other. But you know, what's that Aaron Becker book? That's
The one in watercolor where it's little with the little red.
yeah. What is that one called?
Oh my
I'll-
gosh. I just forgot. It just came to me.
Journey.
Journey.
Isn't
That's
it?
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Isn't
that's
it
the one I
actually
said.
called Journey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. So that's an easy one to remember. But that's a great version of that story. He's following this little. I can't remember. I need to look at the book again. But
I just
there's-
looked him up, and he had a whole series of books, Journey, Quest. A book came out in 2024 called The Last Zookeeper,
Can't talk about Susie. That's why it's the last one.
Interesting.
and it has 5-star rating on Amazon. So he
It's
can
the last one.
he
Can't
and
do it.
on the cover is a boat with animals on it.
They're escaping the zoo.
How'd that
That's
get
why
through?
it's the last zoo. They are the last ones to escape.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, so that's a journey. So that's 4 of them out of the 8. The next one is change or transformation. So some kind of internal growth that happens. So there's a distinct before and after in this kind of a story. I think Beagle might be one of those. It has that sort of emotional change kind of arc. The Lost Thing might go through that as well. I don't know. I mean, some of these kind of ride the line between a couple of them. But that's always a good one. I think publishers really like that. And that's one thing that, you know, the idea of change or transformation that exists through all of these things, that editors will always say that. How does this character change from the beginning of this book to the end of the book? And you need to know if there's an answer there, what that change is. My question is, can a book not have change? Do they need to change in some way to make it interesting?
Not necessarily. I mean, it just depends on the book. I think there's plenty
Yeah.
of books where it's not about the child and it's something else. Or
Right. I guess the reason I bring that up is because I just want to watch out for needing to have something just as sort of a rubber stamp. You got to have this thing. I mean, it's just like my problem with the publishing industry when they were saying, "Oh, you can't write a rhyming book." It was sort of a stamp for a little while. No rhyming books, and I just don't buy that. You know, I go back to Pigeon wants to drive the bus. I would hate it if Pigeon just accepted that he can't drive the bus and it's like, okay, I guess I'm not going to drive the bus. Like it would have ruined his character if he would have changed in that way, accepted his fate, so to speak. And
Yeah.
it would have been disingenuous if he did get to drive the bus. It would actually hurt the story. So
And I think the rhyming thing, it's just that it's harder than it seems. And so there's a worry of just,
I know,
It's
but
easy.
do you agree that for a little while that it was almost like a knee-jerk reaction to a rhyming book before they even
yeah.
maybe
But then I also see currently too the issue that I've even faced with pitching is that for publishers that want it to be part of an international market, so going to different countries, it is very hard to translate a rhyming book that's in English in rhyme. And then when you translate it to another language, it's not going to hold that same
Right.
rhythmic pattern. So then you have kind of that issue. So I know that's what I've run into in terms of that, but
that's an interesting point. I mean, that's valid, I guess.
you know, I just
Again.
like to assume that I'm an international bestseller with all my books. So, you know,
All right, the next one. This one's interesting. Sam and I kind of messed around with this format when we were in New York, which is the relationship-based characters interacting. So think of the classic one of that is The Odd Couple. If you're old and you know that TV show, but there's been so many different versions of the relationship-based characters. You know, the Odd Couple kind of characters where one character is one personality, Frog and Toad, the other character's another personality, and they, it just creates interest just in their interaction. So Sam and I were tasked with coming up with a comedy sort of concept with 2 characters interacting in New York. And it was so much fun. I've never played with that kind of format before. And it's so simple that it almost was shocking to me because I tend, like I said before, I tend to do the journey where I need to think of these big things happening over a
Right.
long span of time or space, and to think that two characters can occupy the same space for 32 pages and hopefully something interesting is happening between them to make it interesting. But I just never thought you could do that. It's really interesting.
Even in, like, we saw Sergio do his talk, and it was using and exploring these two characters that he has. And I'm holding up a book called Up and Down, and it's just 3 short stories within that framework of a picture book. And they're just short, sweet, almost like Frog and Toad kind of paced, and just over small moments, but it's the characters and how they interact, and that's the magic with that.
That's so good. So good. Okay, the 7th one is an escalating pattern or some kind of repetition that builds throughout the story. My example that I used the other day in the pro demo was the old lady who swallowed the fly. And so it's this progression that happens over the course of a book. Can you guys think of any other one that goes with that?
Oh, like
No, David?
no, David, don't let or if you give a mouse a cookie. Or
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
yeah.
get-
John G, where he did the one with Stanley that's building, and he's like the family sleeping, and he keeps the dog, comes in and starts building this tower, and then
I don't know that one.
ultimately, like,
What about we're going on a bear hunt?
That was an example of a journey in my lecture, but
Yeah, but it could also, it's a building, like they go through the meadow, then they go through the water, then they go and
right.
my
I think,
ultimate.
I mean, like I said, I think they combine a little bit. So I mean, I think
Yeah.
you can go both ways with some of
yeah,
them.
for sure.
My ultimate one is that I've never been able to let go of is the Maestro plays, because it takes sound and pace and the musicality of the song building, and it just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, and you're just like part of this, and then it stops and it's quiet and then it resumes. And so that to me is probably the epitome of building for me. I love that book.
One of the first stories I ever wrote when I was just leaving school was about a kid who wants to set a world record. Because for some reason, I got really into people who set stupid world records. I did a whole gallery show on this, by the way. Don't think I didn't go full deep dive. And the whole story was the building of this world record, and he doesn't actually achieve it, which I thought was interesting. And so for the opening of this thing, I was going to try to be the person who has attempted the most world records and failed, because that then would become its own world record.
True.
Anyway, just giving you
Yeah.
guys a little history. But that's a fun one to write because,
Yeah.
like Sam was saying, it just goes up and up and up and up until there's like this really peak moment tension. And then the question is, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
All right, the last one of our 8 here is a concept or an idea-driven book exploring a structure, maybe like for example, like some of the stuff that Sam's playing with is like a die cut in a book, and then how does that die cut change throughout the book, so the die cut becomes sort of this concept or this idea that you're playing with throughout the book.
Right.
I have to instantly go to another all-time favorite. I'm just giving you a whole library of resources. The Other Side. Have either of you? I've shown these.
No, Sam and I were chatting about this one. This one is so good.
My
It's
goodness.
almost, I don't want her to show it because it's so good.
It is
Oh,
so good.
fun.
And you just goes from, you have the perspective of the boy looking out the plane, and then you see the plane where the boy is in, and you see a rocket, and then next spread.
I know
that
Jake's going to be
rocket we
loving
saw
this.
It is incredible. It is an incredible, incredible book.
Is that who's that for?
I don't know, but it's for me.
Yeah.
It's for all of us. You know what's interesting about that style is if you combined Jake, Samantha, and me, that is that
true.
book.
It is.
It
There's
is.
some little
It
element of
looks
each
like
one of
each
our
one of
work.
those images looks like they could be a New Yorker cover.
It was, and even the cover. So look at the cover. He's lifted, and then the back. It's The Other Side.
Oh, nice. Man,
It's so
if you're
good.
listening, you got to go over to the YouTube channel and see.
Yeah,
see
this
the
one is
video of
good.
that
I
one.
mean, it's worth a visual, but anyway, so we did a pro demo based on these different ideas, and we obviously honed in on the observational one, which was Katya's book Fireworks. And it was so much fun to dive into like some of the conversations we were having during that were so interesting. Like, what if the climax of the story, which is the fireworks, what if that happened earlier? What would that do to the book? Or what if it happened later? Or what if she changed this? Or what if she did that? And just opening up to discussion and talking about story that way, I gotta say, man, I was digging it.
Mm-hmm. It was fun. Really fun.
Now, I pulled up the Publishers Weekly 2025 children's bestsellers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have it divided into 4 sections. So it's hardcover front list, hardcover back list, paperback front list, paperback back list. Which the difference between front list and back list, front list is, did it come out this year? And back list is it a returning sales type of thing, right? Books that keep going into print. So we're mostly interested in the backlist for this because I want to go over some of the best-selling books and what kind of book they are, from this list that Lee just gave us. So hardcover backlist, I'm at the copies that have sold more than 500,000. And I'm just going to remove every Dogman book off of this list, and that's going to clear off at least
That's
12
90%.
books. Yeah. So number 1 is a Dogman book. But number 2, Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss, coming in at 566,000 copies last year.
Well, that one I think is a hard one because it's so well known for graduation. It's like a big...
Right. But I want to point out there's 4 books that have sold over 5 million copies or 500,000 copies, 500,000 copies. And 3 of them are all linked to an event in a person's life. So Oh, the Places You'll Go is a graduation book. Number 3, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. And number 4, Brown Bear, What Do You See? Those are the books. We were just talking about this before we hit record. Me and Sam and my wife were talking. Those are the books you get a toddler, or when you find out that your daughter-in-law is having a baby, you gift her that book at the baby shower, right? Like it's just a built-in into the whole system of getting ready for a baby. You get the Eric Carle books. So,
do you think that's a concept book?
Hungry Caterpillar?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. He just eats the whole time, but it's got the cool little hole in the book. It's tactile.
Yeah.
It's good.
When was that published? So he's selling over 500,000 copies of that. And how long ago was that published? That is a crazy number.
I remember reading it when I was a kid. That was
if he's selling that much
50
every
years
year
ago, almost.
And I think of how many generations that's your book as a kid. So it just keeps perpetuating itself, where a lot of these books I think are so popular because they're people that are buying books they read as a kid. And so
now I know why there's no Lee White Museum and there is an Eric Carle Museum.
Oh, it's 2 hours from my house. It's amazing. It's an amazing museum.
Okay, now let's get to the 400,000 copies range. And there's 4 books there. Number 1 is, if we're going down this list, it's number 5. I Love You to the Moon and Back by Amelia Hepworth and Tim Warnes.
I don't know that one.
What do you remember that book?
You know it.
Yeah.
You know it the minute you see it. You know it.
Yeah.
I gotta look it up now.
And then number 6, I Love You Like No Otter. And then number 7, The World of Eric Carle, Around the Farm Soundbook. Okay, no surprise there. But then number 8, Chicka Chicka Boom Boom.
I'm not surprised. That is always in the list. That's always in the list. It was one of my kids' favorite books. It's so simple, but it's just so fun to read out and sing. So, but again, I got it because, that's what that's memories of.
Right. So I think we're still in that zone of these are memory books. These are nostalgic books. It's nostalgic sales. Okay. But they're good for a reason. They were originally sold, were bestsellers probably the first years they came out because of what they're, 5 and 6 are I Love You, and I Love You to the Moon and Back, and I Love You Like No Otter. Like books about love you probably are getting these books for a kid, for maybe it's a grandparent getting it for a parent having a kid, you know, or something like that. Okay, so now we're in 300,000 plus. You're My Little Cuddle Bug is number 9. Have you heard of that book?
Oh,
It's illustrated by Natalie Marshall and written by Nicola Edwards.
it's cute.
Never heard of it.
And she's selling that much and we haven't heard of it?
384,000 copies.
What?
And it looks like
Yeah.
it's part of
How
a
are these-
series.
So it's got little die cut shapes, apparently.
It's got a little like ladybug on the cover.
Oh, get this. They've got some variations too. They've got a waterproof version that the colors change when the water hits the book.
So the publisher is Silver Dolphin. What is that, an imprint of
I
some?
don't even know that one either. It's just blowing my mind right now because these are all things I've never heard of. The publisher, the artist.
Yeah.
Please tell me that ladybug on the cover is not AI. It's an actual artist.
I think it
When
is.
did it start selling? I guess is
that
the
would kill
question
me.
there.
Okay, 10 is Dogman book. 11 is Goodnight Moon.
I want to tell you really quickly.
Uh-huh.
To interject, I just looked it up and I found a Publishers Weekly article about the Cuddle Book series. And it says that You're My Little Cuddle Bug is responsible for more than 1.5 million of the copies sold. Right out of the gate, it did really well and still does so because it has the sweet art and the wonderful text. And there's the simple interaction of the die cuts. And it creates a shareable moment between the parent or caregiver and the child.
What year was it published? It first published.
It was 2018.
Okay, so it's 8 years into it, and it's still selling at 384,000 copies a year.
Well,
All
then,
right.
then it, you know, it also went along with Pumpkin Pie, which is You're My Little Pumpkin Pie, and then You're My Little Sunshine, and You're My Little Christmas Wish, and You're My Little Honey Bunny, and You're My Little Snug-a-Bear, and You're My Little Lucky Charm.
Now,
She is riding this to the bank.
hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And
I now
Sam, you
need
know
to
a little
change
bit
my
about
concept.
doing a series based on a good selling book. Like,
Let me ask you guys this: when you come up with a concept, I know Sam's thinking a little more about this, but I'm curious for you, Jake. Do you think about series and plushies and some other stuff that might go with a story, or are you like, I just want to work on this one thing? And
I'm usually thinking series, not with children's books. I don't think series, but graphic novels. I think series.
I do. I think it's something I've always wanted. There's a commercial aspect of me that I'm not in that camp of, I just want to make a book because I want to make a book. And I have this other side of me that wants to, have that studio on the edge of the beach of Cape Cod that I walk down to and I'm,
Yes.
no, but and my ultimate, can I tell you my bucket list?
Uh-huh.
It's just a small bucket list. It's all. I just want to make a book that creates a character that becomes a Macy's Day Parade balloon.
No big deal.
Wow,
No big deal.
But I do think about it.
it's like a weird path to go.
But
Well-
I am conscious of it. And with the style that I'm kind of heading into, that was actually a big component of the design for the Pablo and Puff that'll be out next year. I was thinking, how would this relate to collectible figurines? Because I just love that kind of stuff to begin
Well,
with.
That's a thing that goes on in the comics world is artists now, when they're designing characters, are like, could somebody cosplay as this character? Like, let's make it cosplayable. And that's just going into it because if people start cosplaying, other people are gonna be like, what character is that? Oh, it's this cool book, and then it's just kind of free advertising for your book.
I got to be honest. I never think about this kind of stuff. It's kind of gross to me.
I
I'm a
think it's
purist.
I have a commercial brain in terms of I've always loved Moomin and I love Miffy the bunny and there's something about these kind of iconic designs that I'm a very tactile person with that. And I've always, as a kid, I used to collect Smurfs every weekend. I would save up my money and go get my next Smurf. So to me, books are, I can't just think in a book. And I think what's exciting to me is when I can just, even if it doesn't come to fruition, but I like designing in my head products. I just want to go there.
I
So
know what you mean. And packaging, it's all that stuff so fun. You know what's funny about, I don't know if this is what this says about me or Amazon, but so I'm looking through this You're My Little series, Cuddlebug and Pumpkin and all this stuff.
By the
And
way, You're My Little Sunshine is sold 320,000 copies last year.
wow.
oh my goodness. Well, so I scroll to the bottom of this whole list of all, I mean, what do you think there is? Like probably 15 books in that series of You're My Little something. And then at the bottom it says, if you liked this series, you might like this. And the book is called Everything is Effed, a book about hope. Why would it recommend
Amazon
that to me?
knows.
Why
They
would it
know.
recommend that to me at the end of a children's book?
I also want to point out something we haven't pointed out yet, but every single one of these books that is a children's book that I've mentioned so far is a board book.
Interesting. So maybe we're shooting too high. I mean, that's always been my problem in this industry is that I make stories too complicated. I age the characters up too much. I make it too unattainable. I mean, I just need to do, hey, you're a cute little grasshopper.
And well, you also have to factor in the cost of a book for purchasing. So for purchasing a board book, the retail cost
It's
of a
like
board book
$9.
would be a lot smaller than a picture book that's like $30 for a picture book. So I think that also comes into play, don't you think, in terms
I
of
think so. So we're on number 11. We'll just go to 20 and call it good. But 11 is Goodnight Moon, which
Of
the board
course.
book, which has
Billion
been around
copies sold.
for 80 years now, I think. I don't know. Okay, 12, we get a comic. It's Hot Mess, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, number 19.
Those were good.
yeah.
And Diary of a Wimpy Kid has a Macy's Day balloon. I don't know if you noticed
I
that.
didn't know that.
I'm so close. I'm so close.
Yeah. Actually, did you know there was an interview with Jeff Kinney about the Macy's Day balloon in the New York Times.
Really?
And he just kind of explained that it was like I think it cost something like $200,000 or $300,000 to get one made.
I'll just make one.
And your publisher, if they can afford it, they'll pay for it. But if not, and you really want one, you just pay for it out of pocket, which is what Jeff Kinney did.
Wow.
What? He bought it himself?
Yeah, because he's like, it's just an expense for every year, but I feel like it's worth it because
But
it
then do you
keeps.
get to put it in the parade?
Yeah, I mean, there's an approval process. They pick what they want to, but they felt like Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a much of a cultural icon that he gets that option to do it, but
Okay.
he has to pay for it every year.
I
We're
wanna know what the
starting a
minimum-
GoFundMe that's going to be in the link below. That's
What's
called
the
Go
minimum
Fund
size
Sam's
balloon? That's what I want to know. Can it be 10 feet tall?
Nope, you have to go big or go
Gotta
home.
be 100 feet tall.
Okay, and then we got The Rainbow Fish, another board book. Green Eggs and Ham, the first non-board book. The Going to Bed board book, which is a Sandra Boynton book.
Love those books.
Yeah. Guess How Much I Love You board book. And I already mentioned You're My Little Sunshine board book. And then Where's Spot board book.
My kids love that book.
So these are all just sort of basic concepts. You're my little cutie pie. And then, I mean, all these are really, really basic. They're just really
Yeah.
basic.
Yeah.
I'm
I
trying
mean,
too
you
hard.
got to go down. This list is 130 books long. And when you get down to the 100,000 plus, now you're getting into the complete cookbook for young chefs, America's Test Kitchen Kids, and The Day the Crayons Quit. And
Oh, so there's your Oliver Jeff. That's like the first illustrator that I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
That's modern day working.
oh my goodness, number 60 sold 150,000 copies last year. Dear Zoo.
Is that Deer's New? Like the zoo
Well,
is full
isn't
of
that
deer?
an old one? Isn't that an
Yeah,
old book?
it's a board book.
It's an old one.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's what's going on here. There's every single Dogman book is up here. That You've got Wonder by R.J.
Oh, that's a wonderful book.
Palacio. Yeah, they made
That's
it.
one that my son had to read in middle school, and we were so glad, or no, fifth grade, but so glad they had him read
Yeah.
that book. I hope everybody is reading that book.
Grumpy Monkey sold 100,000 copies last
Okay.
year. So, you know, that's what's going on in this world.
I say we do a marathon and we read all of them. We just do a 4-hour podcast.
Yeah, for real.
No, time to wrap it up. But,
Time to wrap it up. I guess the lessons we can pull from this is either write the book that is the truest thing you can write to yourself, or look at what works and try to game it. You know, I only have one pair of glasses here. All right,
We're now
done.
putting on
Hey,
multiple
everybody,
glasses.
thank you for joining us today. 3 Point Perspective is made possible by SVSLEARN. We're becoming a great storyteller through visual imagery starts, right? All right. Anyways, special thanks to everybody who helps make this podcast possible. Daniel Tu, Preston Smith, Austin Shirtliff, Lily Howell, Lisa Fott, and Annalise Black. Now, go draw something.